Hey, I want to tell you something. If you're feeling fluctuating energy in your life right now, like you're feeling a lot of highs and a lot of lows, I've got some great news for you. It means you have traction and forward momentum. You are growing. So many of us think that it's going to feel good to grow. We think that we're going to have that steadiness and that stillness. And I'm here to let you know that no, steadiness and stillness is simply a sign of being still. It just means you're staying in one place. But if you're feeling fluctuating, like the heart palpitations and the fluttering of what if this happens, what if it doesn't, you get a little wind, something goes a little wrong, that is a great sign. It means you're moving towards something. It's representing kinetic energy in your life. So when you are experiencing that, have love for yourself, have appreciation, because you're making something new. Everyone, welcome to this week's Karma Cards. So today I want to talk about the Piscean energy that we're under right now. Currently we have a Piscean stellium. A stellium is where 3 or more planets are hanging out in the same sign. And currently we have Mars, Venus, Jupiter, and Neptune all in the sign of Pisces. So this creates a very dreamy and spiritual energy. The first thing that we want to look at is that the Neptune and Jupiter conjunction that happened in Pisces. I talked about it in the last karma card. So we're still under that activation, which increases all this spiritual energy. This cat really wants to be a part of these karma cards today. Come on. It really increases the spiritual energy. And then we've got Venus, which is how we love one another, how we're expressing love, and Mars, which is how we're expressing action, also under this Piscean influence. And what I've noticed and what it really brings up is there's a lot of emotional energy available right now. Pisces is a very emotional sign. It's at its best attributes are the attributes of compassion. It has the big picture vision. It connects you deeper to your subconscious mind. And it has mysticism attached to it. So it's not just spirituality, but it's that awakening of our intuition, which is so beautiful. The darker side of Pisces is not being willing to face what it sees, right? So there is also a sort of like a delusion that can come with the Piscean energy where we just want to avoid, and we go into our retreat, we go into our self-soothing, we go into the ways that we avoid facing what's coming up. So Pisces is known as the dreamer, and it wants everything to be, it's an idealist. It sees beauty everywhere, and when it's faced with something that isn't beautiful, it causes it to want to retreat. So what does that do to us when we're under this kind of energy? Well, what I've noticed is it can bring up a lot of emotional energy around things that you especially around taking action. So Mars is not in its strength when it's with Pisces. It's just Mars wants to be bold, assertive, take action, get it done now. And Pisces doesn't want to be confronted with things that feel like work or feel too heavy, especially if it doesn't present as its as the highest ideal, or if it doesn't present as enhancing life, right? So sometimes the things that we need to get done will enhance our life, but they feel like work and they feel heavy. They can feel a little mundane, and they can definitely trigger us where we are in resistance. And when that happens, Pisces, the energy wants to disconnect and totally get absorbed in something else, something that's unproductive to the task at hand. And so I've been talking about this within the spirit circle, and I've been talking about it with my clients, and I wanted to share it with you as well, because we're under this influence right now, and you might be feeling like the stuff that you're trying to get done. So let's look at something really mundane, like your to-do list, the tasks that you need to get done to create traction in your life and move things forward. Those might be creating some resistance for you. And if you're going after something big, if you're trying to create real transformation in your life and positive change, it is going to be confronting when you're looking at the tasks that are asking you to step out of your comfort zone. So our natural response underneath this kind of umbrella of Piscean energy is, I don't want out of my comfort zone. I want to self-soothe. I want to avoid this. I want to pretend like it doesn't exist and I'll deal with it later. But if you're continually under this vibration as we are right now, that means you're constantly pushing things off your plate, creating a sort of void where you could be creating an energy of transformation. So what I want to guide you to do is consider, when you're looking at your tasks, when you're looking at the thing, and really the most powerful place to look, if you want to know, if the most powerful place to look, if you want to create positive change and transformation in your life, is the thing that you're avoiding. I hate to say it. It's like, so I have a Pisces moon. It's like, so emotionally I feel for everyone when I say that. I'm like, I don't want to look there. Why go look there? But that's where your transformation is waiting for you. That's where the next level of your life is waiting, is where you're in resistance. So let's say you're like, I know that if I face the thing I'm resisting, I'm going to create positive change in my life. Okay, I'm going to go look at it. So let's say you get over that initial response of, I don't want to look, and you're like, I'm ready to look. And you start looking at it. And here's what I've noticed, I feel, and I've asked other people, and they're like, yeah, I feel that too, is predominantly you feel exhausted. It's the first thing you feel. Like suddenly you get really tired. You just need to lay down. You need to disconnect because it starts to feel really heavy. And what I've learned is a lot of that exhaustion is coming from the emotional state that's getting kicked up by you being willing to step into the next level of your life. So, when we think about goals, when we think about what it is we want to create in our life, we're so fired up. We're so like heart-centered, passionate, and pumped up about what it is we're going to create in our life next. And remember, you are a co-creator with the divine. You are creating this life right now. And every choice we're making is either kind of creating the next level, or it's kind of creating a static period where we're sort of in a stasis, which is fine. I mean, sometimes we want that. Sometimes we want to keep things steady and even and just keep the status quo. Other times we're ready to get off of that plateau and continue to go up the mountain. So when we're thinking about what we want in the life we're trying to create, of course we get all passionate and fired up. But as we approach the area that's going to create that transformation, suddenly we get emotional. Suddenly things start to feel really heavy, and suddenly you feel kind of exhausted and tired and want to opt out. That energy right now is pretty pervasive, and it's asking you to engage with it. It's like you don't want it, and it's because, again, Mars is in a weak position. Mars is the action taker. When Mars is in a fiery sign like Aries, which is its home sign that it rules, we can cut through that. We can cut through that. We're like, no, I'm getting this done. I want it off my plate. I want to move forward. When Mars is here, it's kind of like Mars is a little bit like tipsy itself. Like it just doesn't know. It doesn't kind of know which way is up, and neither do we. And so it's really easy to fall into these traps of, this is too hard. It's really it's triggering me. It's bringing up a lot of stuff. And what we can do about that, there's actually a way we can approach this where we can actually start to take control over our emotions rather than letting our emotions run us. Because that is this period right now when we have so much energy, so much of our personal planetary energy with Mars and Venus in Pisces, and then these larger energies, which are more, they're ruling the bigger picture, also in this dreamy, spiritual, yet nebulous, and it's like erratic almost energy. It's easy to let it sweep you in like an ocean wave coming over you. What we want to do is learn how to ride that wave. And so how we do that is we notice when we're getting emotionally responsive to small things. And it's weird when you start noticing it. You'll be like, oh my God, I'm getting so, like, why am I emotional about this? It's just dishes. Have you ever noticed that? I love to use that one because I hate doing dishes. I do them, but I don't like it. I just don't like the experience. I'll let me fold clothes all day long. I don't want to do the dishes. But notice a small task like doing the dishes. And you heard it coming out of me. I started getting emotional. Oh, I don't like it. I don't like the way it feels. I don't like touching the dirty food and stuff like that. It's just, then when I'm approaching it, I'm starting to feel like cranky that other people aren't taking care of it, right? Like there's all the stories and the things coming up. That's an emotional response. That kind of emotional response is draining you on an energetic level, which is causing that exhaustion. What has been so amazing is getting really clear about, am I emotionally responding right now? And I'm not making this a good or a bad thing. We're emotional creatures. You're allowed to be emotional. It's, do you notice if you're emotional? Highly sensitive people, we sort of live in a like semi-emotional state all the time. And I think that, as a person who is that way, I think it's easy to forget you're emotional right now, and that is using some of your energy. It's like a car idling, right? When a car idles, when it's sitting there idling, it's still burning gas, right? It's still using fuel. Well, when you're in an emotional state constantly, when you're constantly feeling that emotional state, you're burning energy. No wonder you're exhausted. So what we want to do here is first pay attention. Is there emotion attached to this? I'm just doing dishes. That's all they are. Dishes. Am I emotional? Well, yeah, because I don't like it. That's the first thing I know. And then the second thing is like, how am I going to proceed? Am I going to continue staying emotional about this mundane task? Or am I going to release that emotion? So let's say you chose B, which I think is a good choice, because again, you're using up vital energy being emotional about dishes, as my example. If you choose the second path, which is to, how do I detach or overcome these emotions? What I want to teach you how to do is a technique that it comes from my background, my acting training, but it also comes from my team who used it as a metaphor. And I think it's just really beautiful, and it can help you separate yourself from that emotion so that you can choose to move out of it. And what I like to do is I like to see whatever emotional response that's happening in me right now as a play. It's a play. It's a drama. My drama about dishes going on. And when I'm engaged with the feeling around my resistance, around how much I don't like it, or whatever's the frustration that other people aren't taking care of it, whatever it is, that's the emotional state. And if I'm feeling it, that means I'm engaged. If I'm engaged, I'm the actor in the play. I am playing in the drama. Now, there's another role we can play in that scenario, and that is to move into our observer self, which puts us in the audience. Now, here's the beautiful thing. You don't have to stop the emotion or the thought or whatever it is that's going along with that emotion. You're simply now observing it, right? So this is the state we get in when we get into mindfulness. This is mindfulness that we're practicing. We're moving out of the direct contact with it, and we're stepping back and watching it. And now from there, we can make decisions, right? We can make decisions whether it's worth the drama, if it's worth watching, or if we'd rather save our energy for something else. And you get to choose. You get to choose how long you stay there, if it has value, because maybe it does. Maybe you're like, I need to unpack this thing about dishes. It's time. Then it has value. But if you're just in it because that's where you go every time you have to engage with a dish, that's exhaustion, and it's wasting your vital energy. It's using your fuel. So once you're in that observer position where now you're watching it, and then you get to make choices about it. Then you get to choose how you're going to use your time. Suddenly, it's just dishes, and they get done, and it's over, and you don't feel that heaviness and that exhaustion you feel when you are sort of unconsciously letting these emotions run like an idling car in the background. So for all of the people who are watching this, and I know already about you. Here's some things I know about you. You ready? I'm using my mind powers. You're already intuitive. You're already empathic. You're already psychically attuned. You are already open in the heart center and available to your emotions. And these are all beautiful things about you. So by doing this, we're not going to dishonor what is beautiful about ourselves, but instead we're going to decide if it's worth using our vital energy. Because remember, there are two things you get a limited quantity of every day. Once you spend it, it's gone. And that is time and vital energy. So we get a limited amount every day. And we really want to start paying attention, especially if we're trying to transform and grow or open ourselves more, right? If you're trying to open up your psychic and intuitive abilities more, you're going to need to manage this emotional energy because it's getting spent on. It's like having money that you're just spending everywhere, right? It's like, imagine if your energy is money and if you're spending it on dirty dishes, is it giving you the return you want? Whereas if you use that energy and spent it on developing your intuition more, wouldn't you get a bigger return with that investment? That's a great metaphor. I love that. I'm sure someone else has come up with that, but I really love that. I'm like, because then you see its value. You understand, when there's so many people in the world who are trying to help people open up emotionally. And I feel like if you're watching this, that might not be directed at you. I think that you're the kind of person who is more emotionally open. And there's always levels that we can open to more. But I really want you to see your energy as having a type of currency, a value to it. And then it helps you regulate that emotional energy so that you're not always on and idling and just kind of spending a little energy here. Here's some energy over here. Oh, here's some energy over here for this thing. And then we start looking at our to-do list and the things that we're trying to move to. And then we're not spending emotional energy on it. For example, I have a bunch of emails I have to send out, just a lot. I'm doing something very cool that I will be talking to you about, but I'm at the point right now where I have to send out a lot of contact. I have to make a lot of contacts. And there is a part of me that gets very emotional about it. It's like, oh, that's a lot of work. And what if this happens? And what if they don't like it? And what if they don't respond? Blah, blah, blah. Like, there's so many thoughts that are going on that triggers that emotional idling where I'm just sort of spending my energetic currency on these thoughts. And I find that if on the days where I let that really go, I'm not managing it, I let it get to me, I don't get as much done. Those emails don't get sent out. And the next day, I start with that, oh boy, like I've got more work to do today, right? The next day, the thing gets pushed onto your plate, and then you've already kind of started the cascade of, now I'm spending more emotional. I'm starting out with deficit from yesterday, and I'm already like kind of emotionally getting involved. Do you see how that works? So we can stop. The beautiful thing is we can stop anytime. And I love using what am I feeling? See it as a play. See yourself being an actor in it. Now ask yourself to step back and watch the play. Because that moment right there of stepping out of it, you just conserved some energy right there when you stepped back into the observer self. Now we're looking at it, and now we have that critical thinking available to us, allowing us to see, hey, you know what? This is a waste of my energy. Like, I don't want to use up the energy I have left today stressing out about this. It's just an email. It's so easy. All I have to do is send it and let it go. Send it and let it go. Send it and let it go. And when I get myself there, a lot gets done. And I'm not burnt out by the end of it. So I'm hoping that by sharing this process with you, it helps you see that right now we're in this emotionally dense time, and that our emotions they're precious, they're important, they're great teachers, and they shouldn't be running us. We have the ability to be in front of them and decide what gets emotional energy and what just doesn't need it. So with that, let's do some karma cards. All right, if you're new to karma cards, let me quickly show you how these work. I have 3 decks here: planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology. And the way that you play is you tune in and see what kind of answers do you need. So let me show you. I've got 2 sets of answers. I've already asked my team, what is it that you want us to focus on this week? And the answers are in red are action, and the answers in blue are outcome. And the way that you play is you tune in and just feel, what do I need? Usually some people like get the color, like just feel the color. They feel red or they feel blue, or you might be like, yeah, I need some action to follow. And of course, you can always choose both. And while you're choosing, let me tell you the timing for this reading. This is for April 21st through April 28th. And the flavor of this reading, we've got the moon. I mean, it's like, how perfect is this? We're talking about emotions and the emotional energy. Your moon sign is how you handle emotions. So like I said, my moon's in Pisces. So it's like all this Piscean energy really kicks up that Piscean tendency. The moon paired with Gemini. So Gemini being about the local mind. So it's talking about our mind center. Gemini is an air sign, and it deals with what our mental focus is about our own personal life. In the 10th house, now this is interesting because the 10th house connects to career. And that's actually one of the areas I was like, oh, that's an emotionally draining area. So that might be one of your focuses. But another way to look at the 10th house is it's about what we're putting out, how we externalize our energy and send it out into the world. It also talks about like our legacy, like what are we leaving out there? What's the mark that we're leaving? So that's 10th house energy. So for those who are choosing action, your spiritual action at this time is to defend what you want to be known responsibly. This is interesting because, the 10th house, I would say, is connected to personal power. It definitely is. So 10th house is talking about responsibility, and it's just about accepting your POV, your point of view, your perspective. And when I hear responsibly, when we're talking about defending our point of view and doing it responsibly, I think the most responsible way to defend your point of view is to acknowledge and accept that every point of view comes from a place of truth. It might not be your truth, but it is somebody else's. And so when we're doing that, when we're defending our point of view responsibly, we're not dismissing another person. So we're not making someone wrong for not experiencing the world the way we do. But we're also not making ourselves wrong for having our experience. So it's this beautiful balance of standing for yourself, standing in your own personal power while acknowledging everyone else's personal power. It's a very spiritually mature standpoint that we're being asked to take when it comes to perspective, and I absolutely love it. Mental action. Accept what is believed about success. So that instantly what I'm thinking about is the talk that we were having and about the fact that, when you're growing, when growth is success, right? When we're expanding, we are successful. That is it. Our soul's mission is to expand even after this life. Expansion is the jam, guys. So whenever we're expanding or growing or leveling up or doing that, we're successful, right? So there's the first belief around success that I'm being asked to accept. The second thing is that the thing that they're really highlighting is they're like pointing at this part again is wherever you're resisting looking, that's where your success is. Like that's the thing. Accept that. I mean, it's not fun. Like I said, we can get emotional about it together. I'm right there with you. But again, if you want to expand, which you do. It's what your soul wants. It's what we all want. It's what the universe wants to do, is expand. Then we got to know that the thing that's holding us back is the area that we're refusing to look at. And we're refusing to look at it because we're getting overly emotional about it. We are expending a lot of energy there when we could simply surrender to that spot and be like, this is where I feel stuck. And we can go deeper in and start communicating with ourselves about why. And then trying to meet that part, meet our needs so that we release the resistance around it. Physical action at this time. Let your feelings tell you how to use the quickest way and become a person of power and status. Let your feelings tell you how. That's why one of the messages today was to notice, am I emotional about this moment? Now, we're emotional all the time. I don't know how much people register that they're in emotion. We're in emotion all the time. We're in good emotions. We're in negative emotions. It's kind of rare. I mean, maybe some people, I shouldn't say that. It's probably more common for people who are not as sensitive, maybe to have a neutral ground. But I think for most of humanity, we're emotional. And our emotions are our personal GPS system. That is the quickest way. That is the quickest way to get what you want, to shift a situation, is to go right to the emotions. What am I feeling here? Do I need to have an emotional reaction to this, or can I let it go? Because I want to save some of that vital energy. And that will get you to a place of personal power. Because when we start being the ones who are guiding our emotions rather than letting our emotions guiding us, we are grounding in ourselves. We are deepening and we are maturing at a spiritual, mental, emotional, physical level. It's maturity when we can do that. And that's what personal power and status is. Maturity is power. Maturity is status too. Think about that. All right. Now let's look at outcomes for the moon in Gemini in the 10th house of career, status, your mark on the world, external energy. The spiritual outcome at this time is the nurturing of information to explain your destiny. That's an interesting spiritual outcome. When I hear that, it really brings me back into the understanding your energy as currency, and you want to nurture, you want to understand, To me, the nurturing of information really is that moment when you step back into your observer self, because you're not stopping yourself. It's not a hard stop, right? You're not saying you can't feel that or you can't think that thought. You're stepping out of it to observe it. To me, that is the nurturing of information. You're holding the space for yourself, but you're not engaging, which is very different. When you see that, when you see that you're using the energy there, let's say we'll go back to the dishes example. When you see that you're using negative energy or emotion around the dishes, and you've observed that about yourself, where's the destiny part in that? Well, you can now make a choice of how do I keep using my energy around this, or do I allow myself to let go of this emotionally so I can conserve energy? And really that is connected to destiny, because think about it, how much energy you have in a day, how much of it is getting used to move you towards what you desire, and how much of it is getting spent on, feeling emotional about what's happening in front of you, or getting caught up in your emotions around having to shift and grow. Mental outcome at this time, feelings caused by communications about where you're going. Yeah, so that goes right back to the tasks, the mundane tasks that are connected to your growth. That's where you're going. And the feelings caused by that, caused by you engaging in it. Now, it's funny because we think about tasks as being, I don't perceive tasks as having emotional content in them. They're just things I need to do. Like writing an email, if I think about it just logically, I don't feel any emotion in that. But when it's an email that's connected to where I want to go in my destiny, well, then I get very emotional about it. So you can see how the feelings get involved with the things that you're trying to do when you're trying to move in the direction you desire to go. And that's part of this period, which is why I'm being asked to bring it up and talk about it, so that we can stay conscious and aware and realize, hey, the reason why I'm running down, the reason why I feel so exhausted is because I'm spending a lot of emotional energy on something. Now I need to ask myself if that's what I want to keep doing, or if I want to address it and redirect my energy. Physical outcome at this time, reactions resulting from the fluctuations of your career. So again, that comes from the 10th house. It doesn't, again, there's multiple meanings here. So this might be directly connected to your career. You could always also change that word for destiny. So I'll read it that way. Reactions resulting from the fluctuations of your destiny. So remember that the fluctuating energy is coming from this place of when we're in growth, nothing feels stable, right? It feels more erratic when we're growing. I mean, just think of a time-lapse video of a flower blooming. Not all of the petals bloom in perfect synchronicity, right? It's like bing, one petal comes up next, and then and they curl and they come apart. What I'm trying to show you with that visual is that growth is not a steady process. It's not something that you will feel steady in the middle of. You're going to feel the peaks and valleys of it. And believe it or not, I mean, that's natural. That's what a frequency wave looks like. Frequency waves that move fast do a lot of that, right? The up and down movement. The fluctuation of energy is when you're in kinetic movement. So know that if you're feeling those fluctuations, you're moving. It's only when we're still that we feel steady, right? If you're feeling the fluctuations, choose how you react to that. You can choose to get emotional and upset and unnerved and overwhelmed and nervous, and all of those things can be a choice that you make because you're worried about that fluctuating feeling, because you're attaching the idea that I'm going to grow and it's going to feel steady and really good. No, when you're sitting still, it feels steady and really good. When you're in movement, it's going to be fluctuating. And if you can remember that, then you can regulate the emotions around it and realize like, hey, I don't need to be nervous, overwhelmed, scared, upset. The fluctuating energy I feel lets me know I'm moving and I've got traction. Things are happening now. This is a good thing. And then you can regulate your emotions around that. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's Karma Cards. It's an absolute pleasure to get to connect with you. I'm sending you so much love. By the way, the Mercury Pod is about to open again for May. I'm going to put information out there if you're interested in that. Mercury Pod coaching program is about helping you turn your inspiration into action. So if that sounds like something that you need help with, keep watching this space. I'll let you know when it opens back up, and I look forward to being in service to you. Mwah. Thank you for watching. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so that you know the next time I release a new video. Until then, stay magical.